All right, so welcome everybody to this video. If you are new to me, new to this community, my name is Jen Dice, and I am a marketing and human design strategist. So I am a marketing strategist. I have a background in Pinterest marketing. That is primarily where I've been, Pinterest organic marketing. And I blend the marketing strategy through your unique human design. So that is more of the approach that we take to our marketing so that we make sure that we're doing things within our marketing that is in alignment with us and we're not trying to fit into somebody else's framework. We are actually doing what works for us. So welcome. So what we're going to talk about today is the different human design types. So when we talk about human design, the very first thing that you focus on is getting your chart, and your chart will break out the whatever type you are based on your birth data. So we're going to dive a little bit into what the types are. We'll break down each type, and then I will give you a resource to or how you can grab your chart. And then if you want to dive into this a little bit more, I have a free resource for you that I will link to in the comments below. So what are the human design types? So human design, I've done previous videos on describing what human design is, the history of it, how it came to be. What it breaks down into is when you pull your chart, you're entering your birth data. So you're getting your birth data from your date of birth, your time of birth, and the location in which you were born. And human design, to make up your entire chart, pulls in the information from your actual birth date. And that makes up one portion of your chart. And then the other portion of the data gets pulled in from 3 months before you were born. So that's how a lot of the gates and channels and get turned on or activated. And when those gates and channels get activated, that determines what definition centers are present in your charts. And those definition centers are then what determine the energy type you are in your design. So that's kind of an overview of what the types are. And the types are, there's basically 5 different types, different energy types. And they are just determined on the different sequencing or variations of the definition or the colored in areas in your chart. So that's kind of where you start, is you figure out what your unique type is, whether you're a generator, a manifesting generator, a projector, a manifestor, or a reflector. Those are kind of the 5 main types. And that's kind of where you start, because each type then has an associated authority. So that authority, has an associated strategy, and that strategy goes with your energy type. And then based on your definition, we each have our own unique authority. So we're going to start with the energy types and break them down. And I'm going to share my screen here a little bit too today, because I think that's going to be super helpful, just to to see the visuals of what kind of constitutes each human design type. So let me pull this up here. And let's see, I'm going to share. Okay. So this is Genetic Matrix. This is a online resource you can go if you want to read up a little bit more on the different design types. So if we start with the generator type. So most pure generators, some people combine generators and manifesting generators into one category. And then as a generator, that's where you'll hear the percentages that generators make up 60 to 67% of the world's population. But with that percentage, they're combining generators with manifesting generators. Some people lump those in, but if you pull them, kind of give them their own separate categories, you'll notice that with generators, they make up 36% of the world's population. So this is truly kind of breaks down how prevalent each type is. So if you're looking at a pure generator, I love this definition because it makes it so clear. But usually with any generator, whether it's a pure generator or a manifesting generator, you have the sacral center defined. So right here, this central area, this lower central area, this is your sacral center. And if you have this center defined in your chart, you're either a generator or a manifesting generator. There's a difference between the two, generator, manifesting generator. So a pure generator, if this definition, which I love how it breaks it out, You have the sacral center defined. But there's also, if you notice, there is no motor center connected directly to the throat center. So this is a generator, but what happens is this is your throat center up here, but it's saying that these are channels coming off, but there are different motor centers. So your solar plexus, sacral, root, and heart. These four here are motor centers. So any one of these cannot be connected to the throat center to be considered a pure generator. So that kind of is the difference between the generator and the manifesting generator, is that there's different definitions on how it breaks out. But basically you have the sacral center defined, and that sacral center is what makes you a generator. So that is more information on what the generator type is. And then there can be different combinations of the different centers that are defined. But then if I come back here, I will pull up the manifesting generator and you'll be able to see the difference here. So again, this is going to tell you, because they're breaking them apart, that the manifesting generators make up about 32% of the world's population. So when you combine those two 30%, you're about, I think it's like 67% of the population is either a generator or a manifesting generator. So this, again, the sacral center has to be defined because you're still considered that generator. But this is that any motor center is directly connected to the throat center. So by the connection of one of the four motor centers to the throat center, that is what makes them the manifesting piece combined with the generator piece. So we have the sacral center, the throat center is defined. So if you have a connection to the throat center, that throat center is going to be defined. So the sacral center in this chart, see this full channel from the sacral center to the throat center. That's what's making this person a manifesting generator. And there's a lot more to it when you get into a lot of the planetary alignments and everything with the different gates and channels. But this is just overview. You have the sacral center defined, and then any one of the four motor centers is connected to the sacral center or the throat center, because that's what makes you a manifesting generator. So that's kind of the difference between the two types for generators. The next type is the manifester. So the manifester is, from here on out, none of the rest of the types have the sacral center defined. So to be a manifester, the sacral center is not defined. So this is pure manifester. So pure manifestors make up about 9% of the world's population. And there is no sacral center defined. But again, you take the piece of the manifesting generator, any motor center is directly connected to the throat center, because all channels lead to the throat center, and that is more of like the manifestation center. So any of the motor centers. So you can see in this chart, the solar plexus center is a motor center. There's a full channel going to the throat center here. And then it could be vice versa. The channel could be coming from the heart, from the root, from the sacral center, but the root's going to go a different way. But so any of the motor centers connecting directly to the throat center is what is going to make you a pure manifester without the sacral defined. So that is the manifester type. And this is just, there's more characteristics involved in each one. And I will do a separate video where I go into each type a little bit more in depth, but this just breaks it down. So then we get into projector. So the projector, there's about 22% of the population that is a projector. So again, we do not have the sacral center defined. And in the projector, there is no motor center connected to the throat center. So this is where you can still have your throat center defined as a projector, but it's not, this definition in the throat center is not coming from one of the motor centers. You can have, let's say you have definition in the ajna center right here. This is your third eye ajna center. You can have a channel directly connected these two centers, and that will define your ajna and your throat center, but you will still be considered a projector because there is no link to one of the motor centers, because that would make you a manifester. So projectors can have multiple other areas of definition throughout the chart, your chart. But the sacral center is not defined, and there's no direct connection from one of the motor centers to the throat center. So that is more of the projector, just kind of how the difference in the lines and the centers and how it comes to be breaks down into the projector type. And then the final type I'm going to touch on today is the reflector. This is the rarest type of all. This is, I think it's about 1% of the population, 1 or 2% of the population is this type. So with this type, you have gates and channel, or you have gates activated and defined, but you do not have any centers defined. So you can see what causes the centers to be defined is a link in a channel. So a reflector, they don't have any complete channels. They have gates that are activated. So they still have a lot going on in their chart, but they don't have that definition in any of their centers. So this is kind of that reflector. There's no definition in any of their centers. And each type, each center that is, whether it's defined, whether it's open, that also plays a role into the different way that your energy type presents. So for me as a generator, I have 3 of the 4 motor centers defined. So I'm a generator. I have my sacral defined. So I have solar plexus, sacral, splenic, and heart. So I have 4. So these 3 are motor centers. My root is undefined. And then I have this, my splenic center is defined. And I have, my husband is also a generator, but he has his sacral center defined and his root defined. So he only has a complete channel between these 2 centers. I have a complete channel between my heart and my spleen, and between my solar plexus and my sacral center. So that's kind of what makes those definitions. And then the gates coming off of them, you can go way into this, but we're not going to do that for this video. You can get way, way, way into all of this stuff. So it's just a way for you guys to have a little bit better understanding of what, like when you get your chart, like why am I a generator? And why is somebody else a projector or a manifesting generator? What is the difference between the two? And this was a really good resource that I found that really helps to figure out, well, what are the key things that have to be in place to make somebody a pure generator, to make somebody a manifesting generator versus a manifestor versus a projector versus a reflector. So I felt that that was super, super helpful just to give you an idea of the energy types. And each energy type can have a completely different presentation as to how they show up and how they are, just how they approach the world, how they take in energy, how they give out energy. And it really, really feeds into like the core of who you are. It's just very, very interesting how it all breaks down. So that is a little bit more of an overview. If you guys are interested in pulling your own chart, a great website that will give you just a simple snapshot of what your human design chart is would be jovianarchive.com. That would be a great place to start. It's a little simpler than some of the other softwares that are out there that really dive into some of the nuts and bolts of it, and you can get a little lost in it. But that's kind of would be where I would start for sure. And then if you are interested, I will pull, I have a resource as well. That was the other thing. I have a free resource as well. If you're interested in learning more about these human design energy types, but not only that, how you can combine those and look through the lens of human design into your marketing. I have a free PDF that is called the HD Marketing Archetypes for Online Entrepreneurs. So if you're an online entrepreneur and you're looking to learn more about your human design and to apply it to your business, specifically to your marketing, I would grab that guide because it talks about your human design centers or your human design types, but then it also talks through the different archetypes and the archetypes and how those archetypes, those marketing archetypes blend with your unique design. So when you blend what your marketing archetypes are with your human design energy, that's how you can then look through that lens and start to create marketing systems, marketing plans, offers, funnels, launches, like social content, you can start to look at it through that lens. So you start to create, set up your marketing in a way that works for you. So I will drop that link in the comments. It's completely free resource for you guys. So if you want to grab that, feel free. And as always, if you have questions, please drop them in the comments below. I'm happy to chat. Thank you guys so much for this training, and we will talk soon. All right, guys, have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Bye, everybody.